As your child grows and becomes older, they fall into a new development stage known as crushes. This new growth can play a positive or negative part in your child's life. So as a parent, how do you make sure this is a healthy experience for you and your child? Dr. Keith Cantor is back to answer some questions that our viewers have sent in. Welcome back to Primetime.
You know, crushes. It's always kind of an interesting thing for parents when their kids kind of fall in love for the first time, or they think they are, and usually it starts in about 4th grade.
No, for me, I was in kindergarten. I made this little boy, Alan. I'll never forget him.
Yeah.
I made him lay next to me when it was nap time.
Right.
And as soon as I would close my eyes, he would move his blanket.
Oh, it's cute.
And it hurt my feelings, but I was such a tomboy and a meanie.
Okay.
Shocker to everyone who knows me.
Right.
And I would go get his blanket and move it back by me.
That's cute. That's
he
really
kept trying to get away from me, and I would.
That's really cute. Crushes are different than that, though. Crushes are like when they actually think they're going out. Now, they may not actually like go out, because most parents don't let their kids go out, but they communicate back and forth, and so they're kind of going out. But crushes are kind of normal. It's a way for kids to kind of break away from mom and dad and practice kind of new roles about kind of being older.
But you can have crushes young, 1st grade, 2nd grade. I mean, I've heard little kids talk about, oh, I've had parents say, my son has had a crush on your daughter. I'm like, well, are you kidding me? She's in 2nd grade. My kids will boys will bring them gifts to school and love letters. So it happens.
There's no minimum age. I think what happens is it gets more complicated as they get older, especially when they get into the tween and teen years, because then you have kind of the sexuality side playing into it.
And then there can be obsessions as well, right?
And there's that, plus there's, you know, more excitement going on, and they become kind of more daring and want to try different things. So as they get older and have crushes, parents have to be kind of more aware of what, you know, potential hazards could be.
What's healthy and what's not. When to say, okay, this has got to stop. All right. And how to direct them. Boy, let's get to one of our questions here. La da 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 da.
All right.
Our first question is, what age is it appropriate for your child to have a boyfriend or girlfriend?
Well, it depends on what your definition of boyfriend and girlfriend is. We're talking about the normality of crushes.
Right.
That's fine. And again, I think it's more of a question that when it gets into kind of a crush and they're a little bit older, okay, then the question becomes, you know, when do you let your kids kind of like go out together, like on a date? And I'm very careful about this, because you really don't want to let your kids go out alone until they're...
my rule is 16, and I have 4 daughters, so my rule has always been 16. When you're 16, you can go on a date.
And I think most people probably follow that, but there's a kind of a developmental line. So you start out with the idea that, you know, you'll take them someplace and kind of let them go, but you're there also, or they're in a group and you're by, which means that, like, for example, with movies, when, you know, middle schoolers and high schools, well, 9th graders want to go to movies, you don't want to go in the movie and sit with them. You might go to the movie and sit, you know, either way back in the theater or go see something else. But the fact that they know that you're somewhere around there,
they're not going to sneak out the back door.
They're not going to sneak out the picture. But there's lots of stories about parents who drop their kids off.
Oh, it's horrible.
And then they turn around and leave, and the kids leave.
Of course they do.
They're
and
gone.
Why these parents don't wise up. Ignorance is not bliss, especially when your kids can get in trouble.
Yeah, but it's hard a lot of times for parents to start to think about their kids kind of moving along in that way, even though we're saying it's normal for the most part. Now, sometimes kids do get in crushes for the wrong reasons. We've talked about that too.
They want that attention, negative attention.
It's providing something more than just a move towards independence or getting used to, you know, their bodies and interpersonal relationships. It might have to do with the fact that, you know, they're not getting something somewhere else, and so they're looking for somebody else to fill that type of thing. So you'll see a lot of kids, for example, who don't get a lot of attention from parents, and they will start kind of the boyfriend, girlfriend stuff earlier, because they want that closeness. So, and what we generally look at is, depending upon how do they manage the crush. If they manage the crush and they're still doing pretty well in school, hey, it's cool. But if things start to kind of not go so well, then something's going on.
Let's get to our next question. What are some signs I should be aware of if my child's crush is affecting him or her in a negative way?
Well, kind of like what we were talking about, grades. If they're not managing other things that are going on in their life, like school grades are going down, bad habits are developing. They're becoming, you know, even more rude than they normally are. Kids have a way of showing parents when they're overwhelmed. They just start to act out, and that's the parent's key to say, you know what, I got to kind of scale back, maybe set some limits, kind of figure out what's going on. But kids are really not good at keeping things silent when they're in trouble. So something will happen.
You know, another thing is, like, a lot of parents would be worried, well, if I tell them not to see that person, they're going to rebel, and it's going to get worse.
And there's some truth to that, because, you know, it's interesting that, you know, who the kids bring home, who are the first crushes. You know, sometimes the crushes are like the sweetest, nicest kids that you would ever, and oftentimes, on the other hand, they can be like the worst nightmare a parent could imagine, and it's the child's way of trying to be different. So parents have to be patient. And just because they bring somebody home who may not be, you know, exactly what you want, you got to understand what's going on. And, you know, you want to kind of do your best to be supportive, because as you said, if you're not, they'll get rebellious. But if things start to go sideways, then, you know, obviously you're going to have to jump in.
And the truth of the matter is, if you have a good relationship with your children, and I mean not trying to be their friend, but be a parent, a mother or a father, they'll respect you. And it is important for them to please you. And they don't, you know, for me, my children respect me. We have a great relationship. They know I love them. But if I don't approve of someone they're dating, or I don't think they're a healthy person, or you know, good enough for them, and I mean, you know, all different levels.
You'll voice
I'll
it.
tell
You'll
them,
say something.
I don't think this person, you know, is, you know, the right person for you. Blah, blah,
it's
blah.
the question of how it's introduced. You know, a lot of times when the kids complain to parents, you know, this person's doing this, and that's really an opportunity for the parents to say, yeah, I see what you mean. But, you know, again, from taking the perspective of, you know, being the parent, don't be their friends, if you can be kind of connected to their feelings, though, I know you really like this person, and he seems really nice, and you know what, but, you know, this might make you mad, but I really don't think it's a good idea that you hang out with him because
and
of
the thing is, though,
going on.
they might not like it at first, but it plants a seed, and they'll eventually go towards what they'll listen to you eventually.
Well, kids always have their parents on one side of the shoulder, and then, you know, kind of other things on the other side. But the parent side is very, very important. Don't ever think that it's not.
No, right.
And
All right. As long as you have that really good connection with your child and a lot of love. Okay. Here's the last question. I believe my child is in high school and is starting to date. I don't want them to feel like they need to lie or hide anything from me. How do I create an open communication relationship with my child?
Well, see, this is where it gets complicated, because chances are if you do that, you're going to hear some things that you're not going to like. Your kid may say, look, you know, I go to parties and I drink, or I might go do these different things, and then you're in this position where you said, okay, no secrets, tell me. But then the question is, how are you going to respond to that? Are you going to say, okay, that's it, no more parties, you can't drink? So you've got to be very, very careful. Again, it's really important that, you know, parents make their position known. Look, we really don't want you to get into anything that could be harmful to yourself. Are the kids going to listen? They keep it there, but they might get into something. But the likelihood of them going too far with it, if you're sensitive to it and you're supportive to their feelings, it's much less likely.
You know what I think is funny? What happens a lot, the kids will tell you about, well, my friend was at this party drinking, just to get your reaction. To see how much they can trust you with information.
Yeah, they'll test you out. But it's different, because if you tell your parents about something with your friend, you know, they're going to react differently than if they say, oh, well, me, if it's me. I mean, it's not their kid, so it's different, right?
You know, there's just no book that comes with these kids, and a lot of it is gut instinct, and if love is always behind the intent. Right?
It has to be. I mean, you got to love them, but love also means limits.
And then think about things the way you're going to react. Just don't react.
Yeah,
don't get triggered.
Keep your cool.
Don't get triggered.
Stay
Think
don't worry.
before you react.
And you can call timeouts, by the way. You know, your kid says something to you, and you go, wow, that's really a good question. You know what? I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I'm going to tap out for a minute.
Take a tap out.
I have to tap out with my 19-year-old all the time. I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to go on a timeout.
Yeah, you can play deaf, too.
That's right.
What? Huh? I got to think about that.
We got
trick to the trade.
Thank you, Keith.